Okay, here we go. Good morning. This is the Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals. It is Thursday, November 20th, 2025. I'm Bill Furco. I am the chairman of the Board of Adjustments. This morning I would like to introduce Amanda Ross, our newest member. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you for joining. Let me go over what the agenda is going to be for the day. So we have the introduction and call to order, then we swear in staff, then we'll be, for each application, we'll have an introduction by the board secretary, and this morning Laura is going to do that. So Laura will be our secretary this morning. Then we'll have a staff report by the staff members who are managing the case that's going to be presented. We'll also ask the staff if there's letters that were received in support or opposition. There'll be a presentation by the applicant or their legal representative. LLCs and corporations need to be represented by an attorney. Individuals can represent themselves. And then there will be questioning of the applicant by the board, and then testimony from anyone speaking in favor of the applicant. That'll be limited to 10 minutes. The applicant has 20 minutes to present their case, no more than 20 minutes. Doesn't have to be the full 20 minutes. And then questions by the board of those speaking in favor, and then testimony of anyone opposing the applicant. That's limited to 10 minutes. And then questioning by the board of those opposing. Then a rebuttal by the applicant for 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. A rebuttal by the opposition, no more than 5 minutes. Final statements of the opposition for 5 minutes, no new testimony. Final statement of the applicant for 5 minutes, no new testimony. And then final questioning by the board of any party, and then a board discussion and motion, and then the final decision. So that's how each case will proceed. So with that, our first thing then is to swear in the staff.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And so we'll have an introduction of the application by Laura.
OC-25-048. An application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a manufactured home on property located at the 3700 block of East Highway 42 in Pendleton.
Thank you, Laura.
Good morning. Anna Barge, Senior Planner. So this property is located at the 3700 block of East Highway 42. Since the lot is currently undeveloped, we have not given it an address. Once they file for a building permit, if approved today, they will get an address. So the zoning of the property is R2 residential, and it is 16.57 acres. There is no site history for this parcel. The agenda was posted to the website on October 30th. Adjoining property owner notices were mailed on October 31st, and public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on November 13th. So the parcel is outlined in red here. This is Highway 42, and then this blue line right here is the county line. So this is the zoning. As you can see, pretty much everything in the area is zoned R2 residential, with the small section at this intersection here being C3. The applicant is requesting...
Can you go back? I'm trying to understand. The county line?
Is right here for Henry County.
Oh, it's Henry County.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a manufactured home to be placed on their property. The property is in zoning district R2 residential. Section 060-040 requires manufactured homes to obtain a conditional use permit by the appropriate Board of Adjustments. Section 260-280 applies to all manufactured homes to be located on lots outside of Division 110T manufactured home districts. So I had the applicant send me some pictures. This is Highway 42, and I believe this is the property over here, but I'll let them use these pictures to describe their property a little bit more. So here's more of a zoomed in picture of the property. Another picture. And then I believe this is going to be where they place their manufactured home, but I'm going to let them speak to that since they know that more than I do. So this is the survey they submitted. And this is the property outlined here. As you can see, they have an access easement, so the properties behind them can access, these two properties can access their property. And here's that Oldham Henry County line, and they plan to place their home on a flat area kind of in the middle of the property. So this is the R2 residential district. We have permitted uses and conditional uses, and manufactured homes, single family detached, is under the conditional uses, which is why they had to come to you today. Here's our manufactured homes regulations. In summary, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a manufactured home to be placed on property located at the 3700 block of East Highway 42. So we have the following potential conditions of approval. The conditional use permit shall apply only to the application considered at the November 20th, 2025 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing, and the applicant shall comply with all regulations concerning manufactured homes outlined in section 260-280, and the applicant shall obtain all necessary building permits and inspections from the appropriate agencies. I think I might also have a picture. I might have a picture of what they proposed, what it would look like. Hold on. I feel like they submitted that. And I might have put that in your packet, actually. Hold on. They may have not submitted it, but I feel like I remember seeing it in here. I can bring it up while they talk too.
While you're doing that, any letters?
No, I didn't get any letters of support or opposition. I did get a couple phone calls, but they were not in opposition. One person was just had some questions, but nothing in opposition.
Well, if you find it, you can
Yeah.
bring it up while they're presenting.
And I may just be thinking of something else, so.
Okay, thanks, Anna. Presentation by the applicant then. So we will need you to state your name and address and be sworn in.
My name is Vincent James Booth. Address currently is 3700 US Highway 42. What was the next thing?
So just name and address, and then you'll be sworn in. She's just writing down your name and address. Give her a second.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for having me and taking this presentation at your all's board hearing. I purchased this property, 16.57 acres. Was looking originally to build a barndominium and just kind of do it over time. I don't have time like that. So try to find a cheaper option so I could do something like that over the next 5 to 10 year period. A manufactured home will allow me to live out on the property so I can do such a thing. It's the house that we're purchasing is brand new from Clayton Homes. Worked through them for quite some time and didn't have any notation that there was going to be a conditional use permit needed for the property. Unfortunate. So that's why we're here today, to try and request a permit. Going over the pictures, do I scroll on here? Right? So yeah, this is heading north up 42. This is the just one angle of the property. Going to this next picture, just a closer up image on the other side of the highway. You can see there's a house and then a driveway going back. It does kind of like a S shape, and it leads back to, I had a picture of the driveway in there as well. But this is the front picture of the property. A lot of slants and slopes here, but we found the flattest spot that we could put it on. It would be roughly, it would be centered right in the middle of this open field. Everything Clayton Homes is going to be performing the construction of the property, from setting in a permanent foundation, setting the home, water lines, etc. don't know if there's anything else here. Yeah, on this picture, you can see where the driveway goes back with the dotted lines to where the house is. So it's nestled back off the property. Was that 1,660 feet? But yeah, so I don't apologize. We want this home to be a single family home. I have 5 children. Oldham County seemed like the safest place for us to move out to and live. And I like my children to live outdoors, not on their screens all the time. And since we've been out on the property, that's all they do with their life. And that's pretty much all I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, while she's, how big is, tell us about the layout of the home or how big it is.
It's roughly 2,000 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. It has like a flex space that we can use for like a play area,
Okay.
essentially. There we go. Yeah, it's a tradition. It's called the farmhouse breeze. It's a like traditional farmhouse look. Construction on the interior, I think it's like constructed with 2x6s instead of just a regular old 2x4s, and built to industry standard quality inspections throughout the building process. I've already purchased this home, which is will be a huge financial burden on us if we have to wait until the state regulations come into play. But it's honestly a beautiful home. I had a stigma toward manufactured homes, but once we went and actually saw how they, the interior look and how modern they are and energy efficient, it just seemed like the best option, so that we can eventually build our dream home on the property.
Can we go back to the footprint? I mean, the inside kind of layout? Yeah, that. Good.
Is that the-
So it's a 2-bath,
There we go.
4-bedroom? Is that
Yes, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. From the front image, when you kind of look at the top section of the page, that was just a bunch of different options that they had on the bottom for bathroom sizes and everything. You walk in the front door, see where it's just a 36, shows a door opening up in the living room, open kitchen, floor plan, primary bedroom to the right, connect the bathroom. On the left, there's got bedroom 2, 3, and 4, and then a flex space in the middle that we could use as a bedroom if we needed to, or just have as a play area for the kids. Utility closet for washer dryer setup, etc.
I'm just curious, how did I see Clayton is in Tennessee. How do they get it here? Like, how does that? That's a long ways.
Yeah, it's I believe they ship it on 2 halves on semis. So
Okay.
it's on the lot right now. We haven't been out to see it, but yeah, I'm assuming I've never seen them hauling on the highway before, so I imagine it's a sight to see. Kind of scary to drive by.
Yeah. I don't have any other questions.
So you say that you're going to build your dream home in addition to this. What will happen to this residence when that dream home is built?
So future plans is there's companies that can move these, take it up and move them. We'd like to eventually build it out on a lake house property.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anna, you included in the staff packet section 260-280, and there's some requirements that are included in that. The requirements have to do with water and sanitary facilities, the HUD label on it, compatible with or exceeded surrounding homes in terms of style, et cetera, guttering and drainage, and those kinds of things. Are you suggesting those should be included as conditions of approval? Some of the ones that relate, I mean, obviously the manufactured home shall be compatible with or exceeding its surrounding homes. That's a question for this board, but the other question is the specific things like water and sanitary facilities and the roof guttering, the HUD label. I mean, are those things that you all will monitor, or how can we ensure compliance with that?
So to the section 260-280, that is a condition of approval number 2. So it should do all that. I believe the state might require number 4 already, and I believe all the permitting goes through the state. Can you speak to that, Ryan?
So these are typically all permitted through the state, so they're going to ensure a lot of those. And I will say this, I'm going to preface this by saying, remember today that we are looking at our regulations as currently written today. And Anna had asked me if she wanted, to put this in the presentation, and I told her not to. But at the recent legislative session in the General Assembly, they changed the rules for manufactured homes, that manufactured homes now cannot have any other rules that you don't apply to a normal single-family residential built home, meaning that we cannot require a manufactured home to have to go through a conditional use permit process if we allow a single-family stick-built home in that same zoning area. So they've given us until the end of June 2026 to get our regulations changed. So this is something that after the start of the year comes is going to be one of those regulations that we have to take before the study review committee and the planning commission to get changed so that we're compliant with the existing state law. So had the applicant have come next July with this, it would have just been a permit and that's it. He wouldn't have had to appear. So I don't want that to stray your opinion, because today we're making decisions based off of what's in our current regulations. But as Anna stated, that's 260-280 is in the conditions of approval. So that would, be applicable to the permit and would be insured then. So
I have another comment that I'm just now thinking of. Number 1, I don't know if he falls out of this zoning, because if you read number 1 applies to manufactured homes proposed to be located on lots outside of the T manufactured home district, he's out of that. I don't know if his land would qualify as agricultural land use. I would have to talk to him about that. Because he is more than 5 acres, but I don't know if they qualify as one of the agricultural uses. So I don't know if the rest of the things apply to him. But if do you use the land for any kind of farming purposes? So you do you will be, or you do now, or you will be So he has, and that is considered one of the agricultural uses in our section, having dairy cows. So Barry, I don't know, now that I'm thinking through this more, when Ryan was talking, I was rereading number 1. I don't know if this section technically applies to him. He would still need a conditional use permit because of the zoning district, but now I'm thinking that we might need to change that condition of approval, number 2.
I'm probably more concerned about number 5, Anna, that one.
The,
Is that going to be a problem?
I mean, I believe there's, and I'll let him testify to this, but on what other manufactured homes are in the area, and I'll pull up the map so he can kind of point those out if he's familiar with any. I know on this so when I'm looking at the site history, it's a little bit confusing because these properties have been divided, but one of this neighboring property, I believe, or maybe it's back here, and it could have been originally this one, it's just hard to tell. There was, at the time, what was called a mobile home on this property, and then I believe there had been one on this property, but I think they've built a cabin since, when talking with that neighbor. I'll let you speak.
Yeah, if we can switch over to the overhead. So there are 3 different sections in our zoning regulations that deal with manufactured homes, and they're in 3 completely separate places in the book, which makes utterly no sense. So that'll be something else that we look at getting changed. But you can see on this, so this would be considered a qualified manufactured home. And a lot of times when we talk about manufactured homes, kind of there's that stigma of what we think of, trailers from back in the day. And so a lot of manufactured home companies actually talk about how their claim is that these are built the exact same way as a stick-built home, other than it's built in a factory. And then they claim that it's also then given a 60-mile-per-hour wind test on the way to the site. So that's kind of some things that they bring. I know the stick-built people are going to say that that's not true, that theirs is better, but whatever. We're not here to debate that. And so this is actually going to be considered what's a qualified manufactured home, which you see there. So the regulation we probably need to put is it's going to apply with 250-080 for qualified manufactured homes. And that, once again, you can see has a whole list of stipulations that would have to meet as far as roofing material, exterior covering, things of that nature.
I'm confused. In terms of the conditions, then, would it be both 250-080, yeah, 250-080 and 260-280, or just one of them? I'm not
I
sure.
think it needs to be 250-080
250
for a qualified manufactured home.
Okay, that would be the condition. and
Yeah,
not the
that
other
would
one.
be, so we would just change out number 4 to say section 250-080.
Okay. 250-080.
So in the current application, I don't know if the placement of the manufactured home meets 3 on this. It looks like it's oriented where the primary entrance is not facing the street. Is that something that could be changed, or did I look at the plans incorrectly?
It's going to be over 20 feet. It's,
So that the main entrance faces the street.
Oriented on the lot so that its main entrance door faces the street,
Is it-
So if you go here, that's what they're saying, it's facing the driveway rather than facing the street, the highway 42.
oh, okay. I don't see it being a problem to face it toward the street or even angle it so it, what is it, 20 feet of the front door faces the front street.
Yeah.
I don't see it being an issue.
Okay.
All they've put out there so far are markers
Yeah.
where, it'd be best to place it. But in order to fall in line with regulations, that we can definitely have them adjust how they're putting it.
Okay.
Are you going to even be able to see it from the street? It's what, 16, almost
Probably not.
1,700 feet?
It's
Third
it's
of a
a
mile?
noticeable distance away. You might be able to see it, but just a glimpse of it in the wintertime when there's absolutely no trees.
Should we waive that in the conditions, or no? Leave it? Okay. Just keep it.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Good. Anybody else? Questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Testimony from anyone speaking in favor of the applicant? Nobody? Testimony from anyone opposing the applicant? Oh, you got in favor? Testimony from anyone in favor of the applicant or opposing? Yeah. Morning.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Need your name and address, please.
Elizabeth Lynn Grossi, 3700 East Highway 42 in Pendleton. I bought this property, there's more, 102 acres in Henry and Oldham County 5 years ago with the intent of having this property occupied by family members. My son, who's here and will also speak, built a home on this property, and this is my nephew, and he would like to build on this property. We're hoping to maintain all the acreage and pass it down to our children and grandchildren. And I fully support this. I own the house in that existing tract, that 2.044 acres plus several acres in Henry County. So this is, again, my property that I split for my son and my nephew, and we intend to split more down the road for other family members. So I fully support Vince's application. Ask for your approval.
Okay, thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Need your name and address.
My name is Anthony Grassi. I live at 3706 East Highway 42 in Pendleton. My house is, if you look at track 2, where the proposed house is, there's actually a house there now. So that's where I'm at. And like my mom was saying, it's 102 acres. There's acreage to the right side of that plat map that you can't see that, for the most part, will remain, I guess you would say, unbuilt to preserve the nature and everything. But that front track there, yeah, we would like my cousin to build on there. Our family's close, so we don't really have any issues with anything like that. This has been in discussion for at least 3 years. We knew we were going to be building on the property 5 years ago when my mom purchased it. We had already talked about having other family move out there, and it was just finding the right fit for the family. And we have him and his fiance and their kids, so we'd ask for your approval.
So
Thank you.
you actually live in Henry County then?
I live in Henry County. Part of my property is in Oldham County. So the Oldham County, Henry County line passes through the front part of that property.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the board? Any other testimony in favor? Any other testimony opposing? There's no rebuttal then. Are there any final statements? Have you said everything that you need to say? Okay. So we'll close the floor and have board discussion. Any discussion among the board members?
I just say that I support this as it's been presented today.
Yeah, manufactured homes are actually really nice.
Yeah,
I've
okay.
seen 'em, yeah.
And we need more affordable housing in the county.
Yep,
So.
okay. Good. Any other discussion? Okay, then we're ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the conditional use permit OC 25048 for a manufactured home to be placed on property located at the 3700 block of East Highway 42 in Pendleton. So this motion to approve is because the proposed use is essential and desirable to the community and will not conflict with the elements, objectives, and policies of our comprehensive plan. Based on the following factors: the character and objective and the proposed use and the potential impacts on the community and surrounding are appropriate. The community or neighborhood has a need for more affordable housing, and the proposed use is compatible with surrounding land use and the general character of the area, as based on testimony and evidence seen today in today's hearing. This comes with the conditions of approval that the conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the November 20th, 2025 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. The applicant shall comply with all regulations concerning manufactured homes outlined in our Oldham County zoning regulation, section 250-080. And the applicant shall obtain all necessary building permits and inspections from the appropriate agencies before occupying the manufactured home.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Laura seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. You're approved. Okay, the next one on the docket is OC 25049. Laura?
OC-25-049, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a short-term rental property located at 6000 South Highway 53 in Smithfield.
Okay.
Good morning, Sandy Rugg-Roden, Planner 1, Oldham County. The property is zoned AG and CO1. Its land use is residential and it's 109.865 acres. The site history: on December 15th, 2020, a consolidated minor plat was approved for the 109.865 acre parcel. The agenda was posted to the planning website on October 30th. Adjoining property owners' notices were mailed on October 31st. Public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on November 13th. You see here's the overview of the property right here. The zoning, it is surrounded by AG1 and CO1. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for an owner-occupied short-term rental property. Section 250-050, Item A, definition states an owner-occupied short-term rental as the owner of record whose primary residence is located on the same lot or immediately adjacent lot of the short-term rental property includes a person, a personal family trust, limited liability partnership, or limited liability company, all of which must consist solely of a person and not a business entity. Section 250-050, Item B-1, short-term rental property permitted uses and conditional use standards states the following. In zoning districts AG-1 and CO-1, an owner-occupied short-term rental property owner is required to obtain a conditional use permit by the appropriate Board of Adjustments, and that's why we're here today. If granted the CUP, the owner must comply with all the operating requirements and standards as outlined in this, short-term rental regulations. This short-term rental has 4 bedrooms, which gives it a maximum occupancy of 12 based on Section 250-050. It will also be required to have 5 parking spaces, and we'll go through the math in a minute. So here's an overview of the property. You see it's pretty large right here, and this is the entrance going back. This is about here. So you see, you can barely see any of the existing structures from the road as it is. Here's a layout of the property showing all the bedrooms.
What are the purple things there?
The purple, these are just showing like not living space.
Okay.
Here is the regulation requiring the CUP. Okay, so in summary, the short-term rental has 4 bedrooms and will have a maximum occupancy of 12. So you do the 4 bedrooms times 2 equals 8 plus an additional 4 gives you the 12 persons. And for parking, you take the maximum occupancy and divide it by 2.5, and that gives you the 5 parking spaces. Potential conditions of approval. Conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the November 20th, 25 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. The applicant shall comply with all regulations concerning short-term rental properties outlined in Oldham County zoning regulations 250-050. The conditional use permit shall be automatically revoked upon transfer or sale of the property. The applicant shall apply for and be issued a short-term rental property permit license before renting the property. And the owner shall apply for and be issued a minor plat separating the second structure to the independent parcel. Okay, so I've received a letter in support. I'll go back and show you where that is. And you have that up there. I put that up there last night. Let's see where you can best see it. So this is the property right here. This will be the short-term rental. This is the property that I received the letter in support of right here. I did receive a call in opposition. They did not provide their address. And their issue was that they did not feel that it was owner-occupied. And I provided in the staff pack all of the documentation that the applicant, who can speak more to this, provided to me to ensure that it is owner-occupied. I also mentioned they're going to have to do a minor plat to separate one structure, which is this one right here, which is not on record anywhere, but it's been there for like 30 years. So afterwards, I'm asking that they just clean this up and put it on its own separate parcel. But they have plenty of road frontage and they have plenty of acreage to not make it an issue. Any questions?
Does someone live in that second parcel?
Yes. It's rented. And they can speak more to that.
Okay.
I went back through all the records and I could not find any record of that house anywhere. But again, from what the applicant says, it's been there like 30 years.
Okay. Any other questions of Sandy? Okay, thank you. So the applicant can come forward and
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. I'm Mike Swansburg, Swansburg and Smith, 117 West Main Street, right here in LaGrange. I also have with me Timothy Bowman, who is the applicant in this case. Mr. Chairman, if you want to, now we can be both sworn in, just in the event that we have questions that can be answered at this time.
so you're an attorney?
I am indeed, yes, sir.
You don't need to be sworn in.
Just in case, I'm
but-
always happy to do it.
Yeah, the applicant sworn in, please.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Name and address.
My name's Tim Bowman. I'm the applicant. My address is 6000 South Highway 53, Smithfield, Kentucky, 40068.
Okay.
And while I am pulling this up, my hope is to address some of the, at least one of the questions that was raised before. For your benefit, the question was raised about the second structure and its occupancy right now. It's actually a long-term rental property. So there is someone who's already living in the property on a long-term rental basis. So. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this particular request today. I hope not to bore you too much with legalese and other discussion points, but I feel like I need to go ahead and do that for the record anyway. Let's talk about the request. And as I mentioned before, the applicant, Mr. Bowman, is coming before you all to seek approval of a conditional use permit allowing his family to use their home at 6000 South Highway 53, which is pictured right here to the right. Thank goodness I got the difference between right and left correct. As a short-term rental property to provide supplemental income to support the 145-acre property. Ms. Rogan talked about it being, and I hope I was, did I pronounce your name correctly that time? Okay, I apologize. That's my fault. So we talked about it being 110 acres, more or less. The actual total property is 145 acres. So not that it necessarily matters for purposes of this request, but I utilized the full lot size in terms of my discussion on this point. But we're talking about the same parcel at the end of the day. And so, again, talk about supplemental income in support of that whole parcel that we're looking at there, which is outlined in, I guess what's called teal, light blue, something to that effect, depending on your preference on the screen. The property, and I actually, just to go ahead and make sure the county doesn't sue me for use of their image, but this is a courtesy picture that was stolen from the staff's presentation. The applicant's property, which consists of approximately 145 acres, is a mixed zoning classification of both Ag 1 and, which is the bulk here, and then CO1, which is back here, which I think there's actually a stream that runs back here, hence the CO1 designation on this front. Well, we're talking about the property itself, the bulk of the property, what's of real concern here is primarily in Ag 1. However, we do just identify, for the sake of this request, both CO1 and Ag 1, which have the same, as you can see here, the same requirements. This is an image, and it is the same image that you already saw here today, the law here in this county, in particular the short-term rental property ordinance, which I cut and pasted over here to the left, provides that properties that are zoned Ag 1 and CO1 have to have an owner-occupied host. And if they do, they may receive a conditional use permit for that purpose. If it's a non-owner-occupied host, of course, that big X tells you can't do that. So this is what we're talking about, is an owner-occupied property seeking a conditional use permit for before you all today. What is an owner-occupied host, you might ask? And that's a great question. That's one I've highlighted here in yellow because it is in fact defined in the same ordinance. It defines an owner-occupied host to be the owner of record of a short-term rental property whose primary residence is located on the same lot or immediately adjacent lot of the short-term rental property. The idea being ultimately that you've got someone who is there who is going to be able to take care of the property. And really what we're talking about is ensuring that you don't have someone, for example, who lives 800 miles away or 1,000 miles away in Florida, for example, buying a bunch of property here in Oldham County, actually never touching it, looking at it, setting foot on it, and then renting it out to individuals, and by extension, not being accountable for it. And we don't have that in this particular case. So let's talk about residency. There was some discussion about residency that was raised a second ago. I've got some proof that was included in your packet. I want to make sure that is on the screen as well. That's Mr. Bowman. If you want to compare the picture on your screen to him, he is sitting right there. He doesn't have glasses on in the photo, but I feel pretty good that that's the same gentleman. In addition to that, you've got right beside that a piece of paper that is sent to Mr. Bowman from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. This is a registration for a vehicle. The same address, 6000 South Highway 53, Smithfield, Kentucky. This is Mr. Bowman and his family's residence at the end of the day. So he has to make these representations to legal authorities in order for him to get these particular documents to verify that, in fact, this is his residence. And just in case that doesn't satisfy you, we also have some bills for you. These were included in your packets. These are just examples, of course, but if the water bill, for example, and KU for the power bill to both show, again, to Mr. Bowman. That's Mr. Bowman. He already introduced you, or introduced himself to you earlier today, and here he is receiving these bills as part of this particular property. So we believe that there is proof in the file to confirm for you all the owner-occupied designation or the residency proof that is required for that particular purpose. So let's move on to the next question, which is, what do you all do when you are looking at a request for a conditional use permit? What's the standard for a conditional use permit in this county? And the standard is actually set forward in the comprehensive zoning ordinance. So we're getting away for a second from the short-term rental ordinance. We're now going to the Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that provides section 260-010, which is highlighted for your benefit on the screen, that before a conditional use permit is granted, the Board of Adjustment shall find that the proposed use shall to be essential or desirable to the community and not in conflict with the elements and objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. You've already talked about it this morning in the context of another proposal that was here. So you've already in many ways considered this morning. I don't need to necessarily go back into it with you all. You all are, I'm sure, more than familiar with this idea, but we throw it out to you just to put it on the record that that is the standard. So do we meet the standard here for a conditional use permit? I would argue the answer to that is yes. Let's talk a little bit real quick about the layout of the home. And you've already heard this in the context of how many people might be able to rent this out from a short-term perspective, but I just want to go ahead and highlight for you all. Here's the home. Mr. Chairman, you had asked about this. There's actually for porches, for example, that are not part of the living structures in any way. This is on the main floor. This is the basement. There are, as you talk about, 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms here, in addition to other rooms that might be utilized for any other purpose, rec rooms, studies, baths, all those other good stuff that you would have in a home. But that is just the layout of the home. Justification. So let's talk again about that justification. Is it desirable? Is it essential to the community in some way? Why would we say that it is? Well, for example, from the perspective of the applicant, of course, the home and the potential use of it as a short-term rental property is important because it may provide them a means of supplemental income to support that 145 acres. 145 acres is not exactly the cheapest amount of property here in Oldham County. So, of course, they want to make sure to the extent possible that they have a means to help pay for that, to make sure that they can keep that property looking the way it does and maintaining it in a manner that is befitting of the area in which they are living in Oldham County. The usage, we would argue, is also desirable to the community at large because it provides a country getaway for small groups looking to get out of the city for a few days. So I throw this in there because just from an anecdotal perspective, I'm aware of multiple situations where individuals like young professionals or individuals, for example, even in their 40s or 50s may get together from a reunion perspective with their school friends, with college friends, with old coworkers, and they want to get away for a long weekend somewhere. So a lot of times they go and they find these places out in the country somewhere, whether they're from Louisville area, whether they're from somewhere else entirely, and then they come to the Louisville area to get away, to be able to reconnect with each other, and to also be relatively close enough to a urban or suburban setting where they can actually get the day-to-day stuff they might need. It is just down the road from LaGrange. It is a little further away from Shelbyville, of course, but it is within a short distance for them to be able to come in and get the things they might need and then enjoy themselves for what I would say is, again, a long getaway. This may not necessarily be the individuals who are there all the time, or to the extent that the owners are using the property for short-term purposes, which may not be all the time, by the way. You don't necessarily have to rent out your property every single day if you are granted a short-term rental permit. It's something that is a permissive use. So you can use it kind of on an as-needed or as-wanted basis. And so if you do want to be able to provide that and say, hey, we want to this weekend, we're going to let some folks come in, and then they're going to use it for that purpose, that's a perfectly appropriate way for the property to be used. And in fact, we would argue it's desirable for the county in many ways. Why? Because you might actually have people who are not from Oldham County come to Oldham County and avail themselves of all the great things here in Oldham County, including the city of LaGrange, for example, and the surrounding areas. So that is what we would say a desirable use or desirable outcome for the community at large. Moreover, just to be a little more specific about it, there is a venue that's just adjacent to it called the Barn at Twin Lakes. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that, but there is a venue that is actually pretty adjacent to the property. And what the idea is here too is that this property can be used on occasion to help supplement the business being done at the Barn at Twin Lakes for events or whatever else by having a supporting accommodation. Let's say for the sake of discussion that a wedding is going on at that venue, but the bridal party wants to have a place to be close by. Well, the good news is, if you all approve this, they will have that opportunity because they will have a location that has plenty of, or at least potentially sufficient amount of housing, depending on your bridal party size, and they would be able to use that in a location that is pretty close to the Barn at Twin Lakes without necessarily having to come from a long distance or to be locked into just that one location and only be limited to what facilities might be at that venue in and of itself. So again, it's a potential supplemental property usage for other properties around the area. Not for everybody, but for some of the properties there, including, like I said, the Barn at Twin Lakes. So we think that is also a desirable outcome for the community, which is, again, a basis for approval of a conditional use permit. Consistency with the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. I'm sorry, I apologize to Mr. Fisher. I apologize to Mr. Baxter and others who have seen me do this before. I don't have a picture of the comprehensive plan today, but just know that it's there in my heart at the end of the day, and I want to talk about it here. It's the proposed lot in terms of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. That's another component part to this request is how does it comport with or how is it consistent with the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan? Well, I've got two examples for you there on the screen. These are not exhaustive. These are illustrative. So there may be others, but I just highlight two for you today. Short-term usage of the property comports with, for example, Land Use Objective LU-3-1, which provides the proposal should, quote, support existing business retention and growth, compatible with adjacent land uses and the availability of community facilities and services by, again, providing supporting accommodations. I just use this as an example, the Barn at Twin Lakes venue located adjacent to the property. So we believe, again, it's adjacency to an existing venue and the ability to support that existing venue's business is entirely consistent with the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. To reiterate that and also to supplement that, further, the usage comports with Business and Industry Goal BI-1-2, which encourages the support of existing business and industry to thrive and grow in Oldham County. We want to be able, to the extent possible, that we have land uses that can be consistent with each other and, quite frankly, support each other. We want to be able to encourage that to the extent possible. We would argue that that's, in fact, what is happening here, is that this proposed use would be able to support an existing business here in Oldham County, and that there would be some mutual benefit to them, which ultimately brings everybody up in this location, we would argue. So those are at least two parts of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan that we think they are consistent with, and that is, again, another basis for what we would ask is an approval of this particular request before you all today. Location. So I want to talk just very quickly about location, and I think it's important because, when we talk about short-term rental properties, which gives a lot of people a lot of angst, in my experience, as an additional point, it's worth highlighting for you all. I put this back on the screen to kind of show you the property. So what we're not talking about here is we're not talking about, let's say, for example, here on Main Street or just off Main Street on Walnut Avenue or something like that, a home where you're going to be stacked on top of everybody else, where you might have some kind of raging party and your neighbors are going to be super hacked off because they're, up until midnight, for example, or 1 a.m, causing a ruckus in your neighborhood. We're talking about a property that's 145 total acres. It's out in the country, and as you saw with the photo earlier in terms of the entrance, it sits back off the road. This is not a piece of property that literally sits on its neighbors, where you might have those same issues that you would have in a concern of a short-term rental, where, again, you might have somebody stacked right beside you, and that might cause you to not be able to enjoy your own property because you've got somebody else who's creating a ruckus, and you have no means of controlling that because that person owns that property and that person isn't there to help manage the issue that you're having to deal with. That's really the issue we have in my experience with short-term rental properties, or the concern that's usually raised about it. But I don't think that that applies here because of the nature of this particular parcel. It's a big parcel. It's out in the country. And it's not going to, in my opinion, create the same level of craziness that you might have in a more condensed piece of property. Plus, we've got owners who are going to be able to filter out those types of situations and can, absent any classification where it might be illegal, they can decide who's actually using the property for that purpose. And they can set additional standards beyond what the county might in terms of ensuring who uses the property, how they use the property. And there are other conditions when you actually get a short-term rental permit that you have to follow in terms of curfews, for example, or when lights can be on, et cetera. So those are conditions that they will absolutely still have to follow if this is approved, and they then apply for a conditional or a short-term rental permit. So there will be additional requirements on the property owner, even if you all approve this, that they will still have to go through, and they fully intend to go through as part of this particular process. I just wanted to highlight that as well. So in summary, because I've probably talked too much at this point, the applicant respectfully requests that the approval of the conditional use permit so that he can use his home for short-term rental purposes. The proposal qualifies for a conditional use permit under the short-term rental property ordinance because it's owner-occupied host, as we already talked about. The proposal qualifies for a conditional use permit because it is essential and desirable to both the applicant, his family, and the community at large, and it qualifies because it comports with the objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. And with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I am done with my presentation, and we are open to any questions that you all might have. Thank you.
I'll start us off. So in the basement, there are 2 bedrooms. Do those both have windows or some secondary means of egress in case of like a fire?
Yes, all the bedrooms have windows. And,
Okay. Good deal. And is there, oh, sorry.
In the basement, yes. Are you asking about the basement
Yeah,
bedrooms? Yes, they all have, both basement bedrooms have large windows.
Okay.
Appropriate egress for exit.
Good deal. And is there adequate parking on site? I think it's 5 spots required. Is that, I don't think it was specifically stated.
Yeah, the driveway is very long. Around the house, there's I don't know if there's on the picture, I don't know if there's a zoomed in picture. There's like a roundabout around the house that has, we fit 20 cars around the house when we've had guests over.
Okay. When you do rent this, do you have a way of kind of monitoring the size of groups that come? I know you may rent it just to 12, but say 24 people show up. Will you have like cameras or anything outside?
We have 5 cameras around the property, so we can monitor who comes and goes to the property.
Okay. And is the septic system designed to handle 12 guests?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
So this property is adjacent to the Osborne venue.
Yes, sir.
Barn there. I think I've been there. Your family, do they do like road maintenance or something with equipment things?
Across the street?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I attended an Oldham County Extension agent training session out near there anyway, where it was tractor maintenance type thing.
Yeah, I think they have a few different businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's different. That's not where yours is.
No, sir.
Okay, that's a different.
If you look on the picture on there, I believe what you're talking about is across the street where those 3 white structures are.
Could be. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I've got a pretty good idea where it's at. Thank you. I was just trying to exactly understand where it's at.
So this is the home you live in?
Yes, ma'am.
And where will you be when the guests are there?
My mother-in-law lives 15 minutes away. We'll be staying with her.
Okay. Do you have, since this is your home and you have to move out every time a guest comes, do you have an idea of how often you will want it rented?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's like Mr. Swansburg said with having supplemental income is, we pick and choose if it's a few weekends a year.
Some Airbnbs in Oldham County stay rented a lot.
we have a lot to learn about how that works in Oldham County. So
If you have potential renters who want to be there 5-6 days a week, are you willing to rent it that often?
I don't think so.
So I appreciate you submitting the documentation that you live there, that you did, including your driver's license and the vehicle registrations. We've had some other applicants that just give us utility bills, and, you know, you could have utility bills and not necessarily live there, but the evidence that the identity documents that you've submitted, I appreciate those, that
Yes, sir.
you've submitted those, and I appreciate whoever did the blackout, so we have identity contained. Thank you for doing that. It's all very appropriate. Thank you for your diligence there.
A few more questions if you're, okay. How long have you actually owned the property?
Oh, we bought it September 16th of last year,
Okay.
24.
And are you okay with the condition of approval for the requiring a minor plat separation of that second structure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I don't know, I've seen stories about rental properties, kids rent them and then throw big parties. And so I've seen some properties take standards so that there has to be a 5-day rental or something to try and prevent someone throwing a big event and overwhelming, potential police resources, fire resources. What are your plans to make sure something like that doesn't happen on your property?
I think the biggest thing is just the front end screening and just making sure that people who are going to be staying there are vetted very well. We don't have, we don't rent to kids or people who are, 18 years old aren't allowed to rent the property. There are certain guidelines and restrictions who's going to be allowed to use the property. And like Mr. Gray said with the cameras, I think that's the biggest part of our monitoring the property so we can see what's going on during that rental usage period.
Can you tell me how close is the closest home that's not yours?
I think a few hundred yards, a few football fields from my last. And I'd like you all to know, I know Mr. Swansburg stated about the letter of support that we received from the neighbor. His house is the closest house to ours, and he supports this process or having a short-term rental at this property. His house is the only house that can see our home. There's no other standing at a house, other surrounding houses. You cannot see our home. So I just want that, make sure that the board knows that letter of support is from that neighbor. His address is 6002.
6002. There. And the party, the Osborne's party venue, where are they then?
That is their property, right here is where their property is. But I believe the barn is in this area right
Back in
here.
there? Okay. Okay.
I guess my question would be, what assurances can we have that if once this is out on the websites and available for rental, parties want to be there, all the time?
You actually have
what
a
assurances do we have that you won't just staying at your mother-in-law's and let the place be rented, which then it becomes not owner occupied, it's just a rental?
Well, I know that the way that the platforms work for rentals, you block out certain days and times, dates that are not available, and this property is not going to be available for rental every day. That was part of the discussion with my wife. This isn't a property that's available to rent every day, and you have that choice as the owner of when you rent your property out.
But you don't have an idea of, say, you would rent it 50% of the time or less, or?
It would be much less than that. I don't know how many days. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly how many days it's going to be available for rental, but I know it's going to be much less than that. And the typical thing that we try to rent to is for a weekend, like Mr. Swansburg stated, is having it available for a Friday or Saturday, Sunday rental.
I would say that your question is a great one, but it's also a practical question really for any owner-occupied request across the county. Of course, the county contemplates that they do exist, but realistically, just like any other owner-occupied, there's short of there being some kind of accounting, which no one ever is required to do and no one should be required to do necessarily. There isn't like a report that you file with the county saying, here's how many times I've done it necessarily in the last year. Or here's how many times I anticipate or am budgeted for in the future. So it's, in many ways, to the extent that there is an issue on that front that is raised, of course, that's one that can be brought to the planning and zoning staff for consideration. Yep, absolutely.
Also, too, that you have to live there 6 months out of the year. So at a minimum, he has to be in it 6 months of the year
Thank you.
to
That
be
helps a lot.
compliant with the rules and the regulations. So something less than 6 months.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you. So next would be testimony from anyone speaking in favor of the applicant. And then, if there's nobody, testimony from anyone opposing the applicant. Come forward. Pardon me? All right, well, yeah, are you guys together or separate?
We're together.
Okay. I think they're separate, but that's okay. Can, gentleman in the back, can you stand up also, please?
Anybody,
She wants to swear everybody in at one time, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
just raise your right hand. Are you going to talk? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And then when you come to the mic, just say your name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Jeremiah Morgan. I actually own the property adjacent at 6004, which would be looking at the map, would be to the right-hand side. My wife Dana and I, we have 59 acres that adjoins this property that is full agricultural. We are actually farming and raising livestock there. The issues that I have is this is not on a county road. It's not on a state highway. It is not on a city street. It is on a privately owned driveway that Mr. Bowman and I both own together. I feel like now there's an issue of safety for my daughter who walks from the house to the school bus every morning. Now we have people that are out walking around that we don't know who they are. We know everyone that's in the area pretty much. If you come down the driveway, you pretty much live there. Also liability that if someone is out walking on the main driveway and falls and breaks their leg, let's just say he slips and falls, everybody knows somebody wants a paycheck. Now, am I going to have another insurance policy to cover my assets from something that I don't necessarily agree with? That a lawyer's not going to sue half of a road owner. If he slips and falls on the road, I'm going to get a lawsuit just like Mr. Bowman would. My other concern is I have livestock. It is a working farm. There is equipment on our driveway constantly. People, like you said, from the city want a little bit of country aspect. Most of them don't understand what happens in the country. This is a piece of machinery. I can't get out of your way. You have to get out of mine. There's a safety issue with that as well. Animals, okay, let's take a walk. Let's see the animals. It's fine because if you don't understand them, you don't know how to interact with them. They're not pets. They're not like you see on TV, let's go pet the cows. It creates a situation that could be detrimental to all of us. I could be sued for, cow getting out, hurting someone. They could actually do damage to my livestock. It's concerns that I have. This is nothing against Mr. Bowman personally. This is me looking out for my own assets and where we are. The The other aspect they brought up of it's in the country, there's no neighbors around. I think that creates a worse situation that you get in an area, it's like, well, we don't have people here that are going to call the law on us necessarily. We can do these type of things. Let's say we rent out to 12 guys out of state for Derby. You got 12 drunk guys. One of them's out there at night going, no, I'm going to take a walk. Okay, he winds up at my barn, either opens my gate, lets my cows out, or gets in and hurts himself. Now who's liable for that? I feel like it puts an undue burden on us that we don't want. We moved to this area to get away from a lot of these things. It is agricultural, and we would like to keep it that way. The property that they've also brought up about the barn, that is owned by the Osborne family. It is on their property, and it is a private drive access to that venue that is owned by them. There is no other entity that is tied in with them for that venue. Other than that, I just, like I said, it's nothing personal. I'm looking out for myself, my assets. They say there'll be rules in place where people can't walk around. There's been people out there walking around anyway, and it's happened. In the past couple of weeks, there was a guy walking down the driveway. Do I question this? Is it somebody staying there? I don't know. But my daughter has to walk to that school bus to and from every day. And I question of who's on the property. Now I don't know.
When you say the road, is that what's labeled here as Spring Hill Farm?
Yes, the Spring Hill Farm Drive from the Highway 53 all the way back to the red line that kind of angles. It is owned by to a certain point, there's three owners of the road, myself, Mr. Bowman, and the gentleman that owns it 6002. That would be Travis Jackson. We each own a third of that road, or I own 40%, Mr. Bowman owns 40%, and Mr. Jackson owns 40% to the cutoff to their house, and then it splits. It gets a little crazy. Mr. Bowman and I own from that split halfway to the very back of the property where my barn is. But it is shared ownership. It is a private drive. It is not a county road.
And do you have a legal document documenting all of that?
It's on the deed, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
I do not have the deed with me, but it is on the deed.
Okay. Any other questions? Did you want to testify too?
Hello, Dana Morgan, 6004 South Highway 53, Smithfield 40068. I, along with my husband, just am gravely concerned about the safety of strangers always being around our young family. Not to mention, the crime that could possibly come with it. You mentioned the wedding barn. The perimeter of this property is not adjacent to that. It's down the road.
Okay.
And you also mentioned tourism. That's wonderful for the county, but wouldn't you want them like downtown spending their money, not in the middle of the farm? I just don't feel like this aligns with the community, the property around us, the families around us, with what's being done. They're farming people, trying to make a living. And I just don't feel like it aligns with that. We were kind of blindsided by this in the summer. People were already there renting and wandering our property, and we had no idea what was going on. We found out accidentally, really. So, you can put all the rules in place that you want. People will stray from that, and he might have a list of rules for them to follow, but that doesn't mean they're going to. They're going to be wandering around, looking at things, curious. Fine, I understand, but it's just not. It's not safe, and it's not something we want around our home.
Okay, thank you. Questions? No? Okay, thank you. There was somebody else that wanted to testify in the back. Come on forward, please, and you already are sworn in. Just state your name and address.
Tim McGowan, 5500 South Highway 53. Right, so it was said he would have to be there 6 months out of the year. Is that what we heard? Okay. Is there something in place that shows that he's staying there 6 months out of the year? That's one question. You guys or Mr. Bowman could maybe answer some of these when I'm finished. The other one thing I worry about is there something in place, maybe Mr. Bowman could answer, would he possibly be renting this out to hunters? Or people that are going to come in and they're all going to have 12 four-wheelers running around that property making all kinds of noise at all times of the day or night. And hunters coming in, not really knowing the land and maybe shooting guns where bullets may fly where they shouldn't. That's some of my big concerns. So,
Where are you on this map? Can you see the mouse there? And
I don't know how to do this.
Do you see the computer mouse, sir?
Yeah, oh, okay. This is my property right
you're
here.
right there. Okay.
All the way down to here.
Yep.
So, but, I mean, it's easy. You're riding a four-wheeler or firing a gun. You're within a half a mile radius or a mile. You can hear all that perfectly. And there's a lot of noise and things. So I don't want any stray bullets. I don't want to hear four-wheelers going all day long. I understand people that have to work and run their four-wheelers to get here and there to do things. That's always possible out where we live. But I'm just wondering if that's going to happen all the time.
Thank you. Okay. Another person? You need to get sworn in. We didn't see you get sworn in, so.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Joe Farmer. I live at 6606 Timothy Circle, not in Mayfield Farms. But this property right here is what I own right here next door to Tim McGowan's. And right now it's just farmland, but we are eventually going to build on it. I have the same concerns as what Tim does in regards to hunters, shooting galleries, because these out-of-town people have to have something to do when they're not in the house, and they are going to have access to that 145 acres and those high-powered rifles. I've got my grandchildren over here, and I can't take a chance with unprofessionals out there just hunting and roaming around with high-powered rifles. So that's really my concern. That's it.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Okay. Hearing none, then we have time for rebuttal by the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I appreciate a lot of the comments and concerns that were raised by that. I want to bring up a couple of issues, if I can, just in terms of responses to the best of my understanding on this front. Again, coming from a different perspective on this. My understanding, if we can get, and Mr. Bowman can confirm for this, is that, in fact, that the neighbors who are here on the south who have the cattle, for example, are actually fenced off. So the cattle are not roaming onto Mr. Bowman's property. They're actually confined within this particular property here. What I would suggest in many ways, as the in the context of some other experiences that I have, is that if they're afraid to do that, they make sure they put up signs up so that if individuals are in fact crossing into their property, that they're trespassing, and that they should in fact call law enforcement to have them show up and address that situation as it happens. That's in fact what any property owner should be doing, to the extent that someone is a stranger and actually walking on their property or utilizing their property in some manner without authority. The thing I would talk about with the hunters, for example, and I'll let Mr. Bowman talk a little more about his intentions on that front. There is nothing right now as we stand here today that allows Mr. Bowman to rent out this property during the day for anyone to go and use that property for hunting purposes as it stands. He doesn't need your approval to do that. He doesn't need the county's approval to do that. He can enter into a contract today with somebody who can come onto this property at any given time that they want to and shoot guns in this direction to hunt. It's not always about having people spend the night for that purpose. They can just do it now, just like, in fact, the neighbors to the north here can do it right now as well. It is a reciprocal concern, to the extent that that is a concern, but it is one that any property owner with any type of land may have about a neighboring property owner, is that you might actually have to understand that the neighboring property owner who has a right to use that property in a manner that he or she or it sees fit can in fact contract for that purpose at any time. It doesn't actually require him to get approval for this. In order for him to do that, he could do it now. So I understand and I respect that concern about hunters not and potentially renting it out to individuals who might use it for that purpose. But that's something that you don't even have to stay there to do right now. So I'm not entirely sure that that is a basis to oppose a short-term rental request for, particularly when it is entirely likely that the majority of the individuals who are going to use this are not going to be using it for that purpose whatsoever. So I just want to make sure that that was also put on there. And Mr. Bowman can speak more to his intention on whether he intends to rent it out for that purpose.
We do not intend to rent to hunters at all. Joe and Tim, just so you know, we do not want anyone to be hunting that land who is not a friend or family member, and it will not be leased out for hunters. Nobody will be shooting towards their property who is renting or leasing the property. We are renting the home out so people can come and enjoy our home and spend time for what it has to offer. Hunters, people will not be bringing their four-wheelers and roaming the property and hunting. And again, like Ms. Ross said, with the cameras that we have, we're able to monitor that. And I absolutely would intervene if I saw someone roll up with 12 four-wheelers when they were renting the property. Also, Mr. Morgan mentioned the road agreement, and I just want the record to reflect, is it okay if I read a sentence of the agreement that we have in place? Sure. It says, the roadway property shall be subject to a perpetual non-exclusive easement for ingress and egress, granting access to all the parcel owners and their occupants, agents, employees, guests, services, and emergency vehicles. We have that agreement in place already. So I just want to make sure the record is clear on that. There was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember. Did you have a question you want to ask me?
Yeah, you said that you wouldn't allow them to bring four-wheelers. You're not providing four-wheelers either?
Absolutely not.
Okay, just
No.
double checking.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And we actually have, what I was going to say is we have we've already prepared a booklet like you would see at any kind of short-term rental that has the rules, the boundaries, maps where people are permitted to walk and use the property. And it is not close to any of the neighbors' houses. So we have that in place as well.
The last point that we talked about, and I talked about this with Mr. Bowman too, so I don't know if this is what you were trying to think of, but one of the things we talked about was, working with, particularly with the neighbors here at 6004, I think what Mr. Bowman had indicated, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that there would be a continuing dialogue with the neighbors on that side to ensure that, for example, any coverages that need to be done, there may be insurance that has to be taken as part of a short-term rental as well. So any coverages or any discussion about liability, it's certainly a valid concern, right? Anytime anyone goes on your property, no matter where it is, and hurts themselves, there's always a question of, are you going to get sued with that? I see there as a lawyer saying that, and I know it happens, and I apologize for my profession because it happens. But it does, in fact, happen. But Mr. Bowman is actually willing to continue to work with the neighbors to figure out a mutually beneficial way to address that particular concern as well. So I don't know if that's what you were trying to remember, but we did talk about that. I wanted to make sure that that was put in the record as well.
So I have a question on that. Is it now? I'm not a lawyer, but I was just questioning. Is it possible for Mr. Bowman to provide an indemnification agreement with his neighbors, that he would indemnify them for first claim on first loss on anything that would happen on that driveway, shared properties?
There's always a possibility of contracting with a neighbor for that purpose if that's what they choose to do. But that would be a discussion and a meeting of the minds between the two neighbors. Yes, it's always possible for a discussion like that to happen. And like I said, I don't want to speak for Mr. Bowman and say that he would in fact fully indemnify. There may be reasons why you wouldn't, and that may not be the fault of him or his property or anyone who's occupying his property. But that would be a discussion that I think, again, I don't want to speak for you, but you're standing here, but I think that Mr. Bowman would want to have with his neighbors to figure out a beneficial way for both of them to work through that concern.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. So then, let's see, that's rebuttal by the applicant, then we got rebuttal by opposition. Rebuttal by opposition.
I just have a question, and I guess I'll convey it to you. Where you had mentioned, okay, sorry. Where you had mentioned for me to trespass anyone that's back there, how can I trespass that when Mr. Bowman owns half that road as well? I mean, if I own half and he owns half, how can I trespass someone that is on that road at the barn? Say there's kids back there screaming at my cows.
Right.
You can have the best fence in the world. They get spooked, they will run through it.
And it's a great question. So what my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that we were talking necessarily, my understanding is you were talking about encroachments in your property, not necessarily outside of the property.
No one has been on my property. It's been on the drive.
Sure.
And they've been all the way back to the barn.
So trespass in that case wouldn't necessarily be the answer. So again, I misunderstood
Okay.
what you were saying, but there
Okay.
may be other remedies to have, and those are either with Mr. Bowman or with the county potentially, and those are ones that you might want to call if it happens. And let's hope it doesn't. But to the extent it does, you were well within your right to essentially call. For example, you could call Oldham County Police Department or the Oldham County Sheriff's Office and have them come out and investigate whether in fact there is a crime that has occurred in some way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Yes,
But if I own the road and he owns the road, what crime would there be? How can I trespass someone who's technically on his property?
Right. So again, I'm not talking about a trespass in the context of someone being on the roadway that is mutually accessible. My understanding was, and again, I misunderstood, was that we were talking about people who might encroach on your
Correct.
exclusive
I
property.
understand that part.
But if we're talking about a shared roadway, I don't necessarily believe that someone who is lawfully authorized to be there by Mr. Bowman on the shared one isn't trespassing. However, there may be other, if they are in fact creating a scene that impacts your livestock or your property in some way, that could be addressed by the county in some other method besides trespass.
Okay.
So like I said, that would have to be addressed at the time, of course. And I think, again, Mr. Bowman would want to work with you on, trying to ensure that that doesn't happen on the front end. But to the extent it does happen, as anybody else would do it, there might be there's always a means by which you can call law enforcement to report a public disturbance or
Correct.
something to that effect. Yes.
Correct. Okay.
All right.
My question is for you, Mr. Bowman, you have children, correct? Where do they go to school? Okay, so I don't believe he's there 6 months out of the year. We've not experienced that whatsoever, and there's no way to prove that. So that's a real concern, a real problem. If he's not there, living there, and he has a separate home to live in, that's fine, all well and good, but this is not truly representing what's happening. Thank you.
To the extent, again, I can rebut at the end of the day, where a person's children go to school, whether it's within Oldham County or Jefferson County, Bullitt County, Hardin County, Hickman County, et cetera, is a parental choice. It doesn't necessarily mean that that is a residency of that individual. My children, for example, don't go to Jefferson County Public School, even though I live there. They may go to private school in a different county, which in fact does happen in my household. But that doesn't mean I live in the other county because my children go to school somewhere else. That's a choice by parents, but that's not what defines residency at the end of the day.
Okay, I think where are we now? I think we're still in rebuttal by the opposition. So anybody else in the opposition that wants to make a rebuttal? No? Okay, then the next thing is final statements by opposition. Any final statements? Final statement by the applicant.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, again, thank you for your time and consideration of this particular request. I really appreciate all the discussion. I understand, again, that there are concerns by neighbors about this. I also note that there's support by neighbors for this particular request, as we've already talked about. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of in-depth at the end of the day because we've already covered most everything. I just want to reiterate the summary for this. As a practical matter, the question before this body is whether there is a conditional use permit that may be granted for a short-term rental property. In some, we would respectfully ask that that be approved. Why? Because based upon the proof that is in the record, which you have seen, which we have discussed, I think at length, It is an owner-occupied host property, which means it is in fact, does qualify for a conditional use permit. So what do you do when you look at a conditional use permit? You look to see whether it is essential and desirable to the applicant, or quite frankly, the community at large is more important. We've talked about how it in fact can benefit the community at large, and also does it comport with the comprehensive plan. We've talked about parts of that comprehensive plan that it in fact does comply with or is consistent with, and we believe that those are all in fact lawful bases for you all to approve this particular request, which I would respectfully ask you all to do. Thank you again for your time. Thank you, by the way, to all the neighbors who did come in and talk about this. It does generate a lot of great conversation that I'm sure Mr. Bowman and his family will want to continue to have with the neighbors in order to address their concerns. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back whatever time I might have, and thank you for your consideration.
I just have a quick question. Is it okay if I ask a question to the board? I saw something on the presentation that I had a question about
Sure.
regarding.
Go ahead.
I am currently in the process of having the property deeded to my personal name. And I saw on one of the presentation notes from Sandy that said sale or transfer of a property can change something about, I don't know if we need to talk about that now or that's like an administrative thing we talk about afterward. I wouldn't want something that I do in my personal to change.
Maybe have Sandy or Ryan.
So I'm not sure the answer to that, but if you do sell or transfer the property, you would need to get a new permit, but I don't know if it gets transferred from.
I'm transferring from my LLC to my name.
And when is that occurring?
The next few weeks.
Should we table this until next month?
That's up to the applicant. Well,
I would also-
I'm not sure who that's up to.
Just to-
we could table it, yes.
Just I would throw it, it's a single member LLC. Mr. Bowman is the single member of the LLC. He's transferring it to himself at the end of the day as a practical matter.
That typically is in the conditions of approval that it doesn't transfer. So, Ryan?
Yeah, so we started putting this in the conditions of approval probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And what we wanted to ensure was that if somebody transferred or sold the property to another individual or another LLC, they didn't just automatically get the right to have the short-term rental. Same as we would do with a home occupation. If you ran a barber shop or whatever out of your house, the next person just didn't get to automatically do that. So this one is a little difficult in the fact he's transferring it to himself. I guess you could probably, and I'll let maybe Barry chime in on the legality of this, is you could put in there with that condition of approval that, I'm going to read it verbatim. So conditional use permit shall be automatically revoked upon transfer or sale of the property. And you could put something in there other than his transfer to himself that will occur within a certain number of weeks. I don't know, this one's difficult in the fact he's transferring it to himself out of his.
If the permit's issued today, the permit would be issued in the name of the LLC, not his name.
Or the conditional use permit, yes, would be issued in his LLC.
Actually, that's a technical issue too, because the application shows that the name of the applicant is Timothy Bowman. And so.
Yeah, so the conditional use permit would be issued to Timothy Bowman, then not.
So the LLC would not, but if Timothy Bowman doesn't own the property, how can he get the conditional use permit?
That's a question for the.
He can't.
Yeah. So he would need to change the application, the name on the application.
So the LLC technically owns it. He's a single member LLC. He's himself at the end of the day. So as a practical matter, I mean, the issue at this point is it runs with the LLC. So he either doesn't transfer to himself and leaves with the LLC for that purpose, or if he wanted to transfer to himself, then he would need to come back and get a new permit in that context.
So I guess the question, Mr. Swansburg, becomes, and maybe you need a minute to confer with your client about this, but I I mean, you could ask, and I think it's appropriate at this point based upon the testimony, you could ask to amend the name of the applicant to the LLC. And I don't think that that is a problem based upon the testimony we've heard today and based upon what everybody's clear understanding is. I think the concern gets to be that if Mr. Bowman then turns around and transfers the property back to himself, is it in the ordinance, this condition of approval on, that's just something we have started to do. So it would be up to the board as to whether the board wanted to have a condition of approval that would indicate that under this particular circumstance, the short-term rental could be, the conditional use permit could be transferred one time within such a period of time, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, from the LLC, the amended applicant, to Mr. Bowman's individual name. So that would, I think, solve the problem. But right now we have, and it's an excellent point, I don't think anybody really, I mean, it's obviously not done with any kind of subterfuge. It was just some confusion about who the applicant ought to be.
As a practical matter, Mr. Chairman, as we indicated before, we would ask to amend the application officially to be the LLC. Again, Mr. Bowman is the single member. It is himself in this context. And then we would be agreeable to a conditional use or a binding element that in terms of the, I don't have it on here, I know Sandy had it on there before, to amend that.
So what is the name of the LLC?
It's 3105 Hunsinger LLC.
So can I jump in with a question? Would changing the condition of approval to have this one-off, where it can be swapped within a certain time frame, would that weaken the application of that condition of approval on other decisions that we make?
Do that again.
Just so would it say that we're not basically using the exact same set of rules across all of the applications that we view? Or are there enough unique circumstances? My gut feeling is it would be cleaner to table this if there's not any issue from the applicant's perspective until next month.
Well, that would give them time to officially amend the application, which is a good point. And for the staff to work on the condition verbiage, which is a good point. And for the applicant to maybe meet with the people who are in opposition to resolve some of their issues. So tabling it is not a terrible idea.
We should ask the applicant to see.
I just want to say real quick, keep in mind that every time these are potential conditions of approval, you all can change these as the board, or you can say, you know what, we don't like any of these potential conditions of approval planning staff puts up there. These are dumb. Let's change them all and make them whatever you want. So these are simply, every time we put these on the screen, are potential conditions of approval for you all to remedy. So I don't think it necessarily weakens any other case that we might have, because once again, we may have something come up like this where it's a little weird, that we know that's going to happen, that the applicant's testified to that. Frankly, he could have just continued to sit there and not got up and told you all any of this, and we would have already voted by now and been done. But he chose to get up here and freely state that he was getting ready to do this. So I think to put that in there as a condition of approval, if we want to add that in to say, other than the one transfer that will occur however you all choose to word it, and if maybe tabling that is the right thing to do and come back next month to get that language, that's fine. But just, I want to keep in mind that these are always potential conditions of approval that you all are more than welcome to change or add to, or say that one's dumb, we're not putting it in there. So,
well, on the other hand, if we would have approved it the way it's submitted, it would be invalid because the LLC would not have permission, right?
I mean, yeah, if he came in to put in his short-term rental application in a different name, yeah, that would cause, hey, wait a second, your conditional use permit was issued under.
No, but the application here is, it's granted to an applicant, Timothy Bowman, who doesn't own the property. This form that we have
Well,
in front
the
of us.
LLC owns the property in which he is the only person on it. So,
My point is, if we approved the application as submitted to Timothy Bowman, it would not be valid because Timothy Bowman doesn't own the property.
but we would have never have known that. When he came in to put an application in for a short-term rental,
No, I know, but
us Timothy Bowman,
technically it's invalid. I mean, the applicant, which is the LLC, does not have approval. I mean, I'm just, am I reading it right?
I mean, as a technical point, that he's making application for a short-term rental property on a piece of property. Mr. Bowman Mr. Bowman does not own because it's owned by the LLC that he named. So right now we have, and again, I think he and Mr. Swansburg want to talk about this for a minute, but right now we have what would be deemed an invalid application unless there's a motion to table and we come back, or unless there's an amendment of the application. And Mr. Bowman has indicated he's going to put it in his name. If they amend the application to the LLC's name, then he puts it in his name, then and you all approve this as a condition of approval, then he doesn't have a valid short-term rental at that point. So, I mean, there's some technical things that need to be resolved.
Or he could just transfer it to himself and just table the application and not change the application. I mean, that's another possibility.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but there are technical issues, right, as it stands. So,
Can we open the floor and ask the applicant if he's okay potentially tabling this, or what their preference is? Or should we give them?
Do we
a
want
minute?
to just take a break for a few minutes so they
Yeah.
can discuss and figure out how they want to handle it?
So are you making a motion for?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
Motion to take a recess. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's take a break. Reconvene in like 5 minutes. All in favor?
Second.
Aye, aye. I need a second. Oh, yeah, second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We're back in session.
Mr. Chairman, there was a question on the floor that was raised for the applicant about whether to either table and come back next month to finish out that transfer and have it comport with the existing application, or to amend and to potentially adjust some other issues at this point. The applicant at this point is perfectly happy to table it next month, just let all those official transfers happen, and then it would comport with the request. That way it's cleaner and it's there's no issue on that front for anyone, whether us or otherwise. It was an oversight, so it's just nothing to try to pull anything on anybody at the end of the day. We just want to make sure that it is in fact the cleaner way to do it, and that is what they're agreeable to doing. So that would be our request to you all.
Is there a motion to table?
Motion to table OC 25-049 until next month.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion carries. The application is tabled.
Thank you.
Sure.
My apologies to the board for
Sure.
the confusion.
Okay. The next thing on our agenda is there are no more dockets, applications on the docket. We need to approve the minutes from the October 16th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes, or any issues, discussion about the October 16th, 2025?
Motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nobody? Okay, that's unanimous. Motion to adjourn? Wait, Ryan has something to say.
So next month, our filing deadline was just yesterday. I do believe there's a case for you all next month. I know it'll be a short docket, but that is December 18th. So we'll meet at our normal regular time, and then...
Two cases. We just added one.
And this
Oh,
one.
yeah, and this one.
And the tabled case.
Yeah, disregard, we got that one too.
Yeah.
So you're definitely got to be here now. And then just keep in mind, after this, once we adjourn, we'll do an hour training on surveys. Our county surveyor is here to go over that. So if you've got time to stick around for an hour, that'll get you an hour of continuing ed. So we appreciate it.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you.